Greetings my fellow Fright Beans, and thanks for dropping by the Horror Zone. I hope everyone's doing well. Today's video is going to be, talking about something that, I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and now that we, where I live, we're pretty much on lockdown for the next 3 weeks. So, as I said in the video where I talked about the channel update just a couple of days ago, I'm trying to come up with some topics and some things that I can talk about here on the channel to sort of take people's stress off of the coronavirus that's going around right now. But yeah, I'm pretty much housebound until the 7th of April, where I live. It's one of the counties in California that on Monday of this week was told that we're pretty much locked down in place. So I started thinking about what I hope will still happen in June, and that is the Sinister Creature Con. That is a convention that I love going to every year. They didn't have one last October. The last one I went to was in June of last year. They usually always happen around Father's Day weekend. So I had tickets for the October show. It got canceled. But they honor the tickets for the new show, so I already have my tickets, so hopefully it doesn't get canceled in June. If it does, though, I'm sure they're going to have it in October. But there's some really cool people that are going to be at this summer's convention. The main players from the Blair Witch Project are going to be there. You have Daniel Harris is going to be there. You also have Scout Taylor Compton. Probably in the last 11 years, I really heavily started going to conventions. Horror became a really big thing. Horror conventions became huge, especially after The Walking Dead, the success of The Walking Dead. You started seeing more horror conventions pop up. There were a lot of really good ones that kind of didn't make it, like the Twisted Terror Con was one that only had 1 year, but it was a really fun convention. You also had Miss Misery's Horror Sci-Fi Con, which went for a couple years. There was the Walker Stalker Cons, which I never was a big fan of because they just felt more like a way to milk money from people. Everything there was really expensive, and the prices for autographs and pictures were just ridiculous. But then there's the Sinister Creature Con, which I've loved since the first one. Really awesome people that run that show. It's a lot of fun, and the people that go are just really cool, really down to earth. It doesn't feel like they're just there for the money. But yeah, so I've had some really good experiences, and I'd like to talk about my top 10 celebrities that I've met at horror cons. And one honorable mention that didn't make my top 10, that is the late great Janet Leigh. I met her back in 1995. Of course, everyone knows her as Marion Crane from Psycho. She was in The Fog. She was an actress in many things before Psycho, like Touch of Evil. She was in Little Women. She was a great actress and such a beautiful, lovely woman. I met her when I was 21. I had a it's a story I've talked about on the channel before, but it's been a long time, but I'll give an abbreviated version of it. It's pretty much, it was a day that I had surgery on this ear. I developed like a keloid on this ear. I don't know if people know what keloids are, but they're scar tissue, and I had a giant bump behind my ear that was surgically removed, and I had stitches in my ear, and I had to get the stitches out. The appointment to get that done that afternoon, and my grandmother had bought me the book, The Making of Psycho, that Janet Leigh had written, and I read it, I loved it, and then she was going to be on the news that day talking about the book and everything, and she happened to be in the city signing autographs of the book. So I had never driven to the city before. I had my mom's old Isuzu diesel car from like 1982. It was my first car, and I drove it to the city, getting lost. I kept going around in the same area, ending up in the same area, not able to find the small bookstore where she was going to be at. Finally just getting frustrated with ending up on the same one-way street and having to go all the way down to turn around, because if you get lost in San Francisco, it's just a fucking nightmare. But finally was able to park my car and find the bookstore, and she was just sitting there, and I didn't, the smart guy that I am, I didn't bring a camera, I didn't take a picture with her, but I do have her autograph. And since I don't have a picture with her, here's the book right here. This is it. She wrote this, the classic thriller Psycho, written by Janet Leigh. But right there, you can see it right there. It says To Ben, Janet Leigh. So this was the first celebrity I ever met, And yes, so this has a very special place in my heart. And it's one of the prized things that I have that I truly treasure. And what an amazing experience to meet an icon like that. Number 10 on my list is going to go to Nathan Basil, who played Leslie Vernon in Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon, a fantastic horror film, independent horror film that I hope everyone has seen. I met him in 2015 at, I believe, the first Sinister Creature Con I went to, and he was an awesome guy. Just couldn't say enough great things about how much I loved him in the film, and how much the film is just a modern day masterpiece that doesn't get enough credit and so deserved a sequel. He couldn't have been kinder, and he was just an amazing guy, and I've kept in touch with him through social media. We actually ran into each other again at another Sinister Creature Con that he happened to be at, and again, just the nicest guy. I wish him all the best, and I hope one day we will get to see him play Leslie Vernon again. Next for me will be Steve Dash, the late great Steve Dash, who finally got his credit he deserved for playing Jason Voorhees, the masked Jason Voorhees, Sackhead Jason, in Friday the 13th Part 2. Met him actually 6 months before he passed away. So it was a true honor meeting him. He couldn't have been more gracious and sweet to my wife and I. I was heartbroken that he would pass away so suddenly after that meeting, just 6 months later. So he was a tremendous part of my childhood with that movie, and I'm so glad that he got the recognition he's so long deserved after Warrington Gillette, who only played Jason in a handful of scenes in that movie, took the credit for that work for so long. Number 8 for me will be Derek Mears, who played Jason in the Friday the 13th reboot. I met him in 2010, and he was a great guy, really sweet and kind. Was really excited to talk to him. This was the summer that Predators had come out, playing the Predator, and it also was a year after the Friday the 13th reboot. And he had said that, you know, there was still plans to make a sequel at that point that never happened, unfortunately. I still would love to see Derek come back as this character. Yeah, it was a tremendous honor meeting him. Number 7 for me was Tom Atkins. Such an awesome time meeting him. And again, Sinister Creature Con, met him in, it was the summer of 2017, and this is when they did a show in Stockton. So a lot of people were warning me, friends of mine that were there, and saying, hey, you know, he's not in a good mood. You know, watch out when you go and talk to him. He's been kind of cranky with a lot of people. But I just went up to him and just said, you know, thank you so much for, you know, being a part of, you know, great memories from my childhood, and for being in films that I love, like Creepshow, Night of the Creeps, Halloween 3, which I've become a huge fan of in my later years. And he was so just appreciative of that, and standing next to an icon like Tom Atkins, and just meant so much to me. And I didn't ask him to do lines from movies and shit like that. I just went up to him and talked to him like a human being, and said thank you for everything you contributed to the art form that I love, and he couldn't have been more gracious and kind. Number 6 for me will be Felissa Rose. This was at Sinister Creature Con in October of 2016. This took place a week before my contract with Google was about to end. And my last few months at Google were horrible. I fucking hated that place. Would never go back there. Worked for probably one of the most cruel supervisors ever. Someone that made my life a living hell the last few months I was there, for no reason at all. A very cold place that I was really in a horrible mood and very depressed, and I was trying to find a job. It was just a really, really bad time in my life, and Felissa Rose really brightened my day. She was so sweet to my wife and I, you know, fan of hers from Sleepaway Camp. And I just still remember she came around the table and actually hugged my wife and I. And it was like one of the first times anybody had ever done that, that we met at a convention. It was very sweet. We talked for a long time. We talked about, you know, movies, and she had just done Adam Green's Scary Sleepover, and I was talking to her about that and how much I loved the episode that she did. And at that time, she was actually filming Victor Crowley and couldn't tell me. She did say she was working on Adam's next film, but she had to keep it a secret. But yeah, she was great, and such a kind soul, and a beautiful woman in every way, and it was just a tremendous honor to meet her. It was a fantastic experience. Number 5 for me is going to be David Naughton, who played in one of my favorite films of all time, An American Werewolf in London. He was at a Comic Con in Stockton, actually at the same place where Sinister Creature Con would be a year later, and I had to meet him. David Naughton has been, you know, a part of my childhood since the first time I saw American Werewolf, but I also remember him from like the Dr. Pepper commercials. He was in a movie called Midnight Madness with Michael J. Fox, and I think it was one of the only times I've gone up to a table and started shaking, seeing somebody that I looked up to and admired so much. And he was another one where I had heard, I think I had heard rumblings that he was having a hard time with some of the people that were coming up to him. But again, I go up to people with respect. These are people that I respect greatly. Very nice to me. He signed my poster, which was so awesome. I was so glad I had that for him to sign. He came around, took a picture with me. And the stupidest thing that I did was I had this cool shirt on. I had more cover, and he spotted my shirt and he said, "Oh, I love that shirt. I love that art." Because it was him when he's in the hospital bed, that whole scene where his eyes open, which he said was the most painful scene he ever had to film. But I had that on, and I'm holding the fucking poster in front of that shirt. I should have held it to the side or had him hold it or something, but I was so shocked to be standing next to him. And you know, I thanked him, and he said, "Thank you so much, Ben," and that meant more to me than anything. And I remember I had to catch my breath after walking away, because dude meant so much to me, and that movie is still one of my favorites of all time, and meeting an icon like that just meant everything to me. Number 4 will be Norman Reedus. Of course, everyone knows him as Daryl Dixon on The Walking Dead, but I was a fan of him before The Walking Dead. I was a fan of him from 8mm, which he had a very small part in. Of course, Boondock Saints, Blade 2, so I knew who he was, and when he joined The Walking Dead, I was like, oh, I love this guy. So I've never championed someone's success so much as I have Norman Reedus. Every Daryl Dixon thing I can buy, I buy it, because I love the guy. I think he's a genuinely awesome person. When I met him, The Walking Dead was just ending its sophomore season, so nobody knew what it was going to become, because it was right on the cusp of becoming that mega hit that just catapulted in the 3rd season and 4th season and 5th season, where it was just this huge thing. But when I met him, I was unemployed at the time. Seems like it was the story of my life for 10 years. But I was unemployed. I had just lost my job. He was going to be at a con in Oakland called ImageCon. It was actually the old hotel where they used to hold WonderCon back in the 90s. He was there and Steven Yeun was there. Both of them were only charging $25 to meet. And it was $25 for an autograph and a picture. For anybody that went to Walker Stalker cons, you know how much those things were. I mean, they went up to like $100 to meet those guys after that. So it was $25. I didn't have a ton of money on me, so I kind of went there on a budget. So kicking myself now, but I only paid to meet Norman because it was $25. I didn't want to pay $50. But Steven was there. I saw him and went up to Norman, and we had a great conversation. He was really happy that I remembered that part from 8mm that he played, and I was telling him about, you know, how he was so intimidating for that one scene, and Norman said that Nicolas Cage actually complimented him on the way that he was playing the part. So it was really cool. We had a great conversation, signed an autograph picture, took a picture with me. Just amazing guy. He's an awesome person. It was an awesome time meeting him. It was great meeting him. It was a blast. Number 3 for me is going to be Deborah Voorhees, who played Tina in Friday the 13th Part 5: A New Beginning. Deborah and I kind of got into conversation on Facebook, probably going back maybe 10 years ago. You know, just noticed that she was on Facebook, kind of reached out and just said, hey, you know, I'm a fan of hers. We had a rapport on Facebook, very nice person. In 2017, she asked me to review a short film that she had done called Catching Up, which I did. We actually talked on the phone. We had a really nice conversation. And then she was actually in the Bay Area on vacation with her husband, and we met up and had coffee. And you know, hanging out with somebody that you admired and had a crush on as a kid. I still think Deborah's the most beautiful actress from the Friday the 13th franchise. She will always be a crush of mine. But it was really cool to hang out with her and have coffee. She bought me coffee, which was really sweet. And just to talk about life and politics and people and all kinds of things, and we just really had a really good, nice conversation. And it's one of the most personal and cherished experiences of my life. It was a fantastic experience, and she's a beautiful person. And now that she has this new movie that she's working on with a lot of alumni from the Friday the 13th franchise, I'm very grateful for her and wish her nothing but success with it. And I can't wait to see it when it's done. Number 2 for me is CJ Graham, who played my favorite version of Jason in Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, my favorite Jason movie. I met CJ the first time at WonderCon in 2009. It was right after Friday the 13th reboot had dropped. Kane Hodder was supposed to be there too, but something happened where I think Kane Hodder was supposed to be there, and if I remember correctly, Warrington Gillette was going to be there. So it was going to be 3 Jason actors, and CJ was the only one that ended up being there. But I don't think a lot of people knew who he was. So when I went up to his table, my wife and I, there was no one else there, and we ended up talking for like 20 minutes. And he was really kind to my wife and I, took pictures with both of us, and he signed an autographed picture, and it was the first Jason performer that I had ever met. But even as a young kid, I read about him in Fangoria. I knew what his name was, and I had always wanted him to play Jason in more movies. But he was nothing but kind, and it was so amazing standing next to him and talking to him, and he was so nice to both my wife and I. And then we met him again at the Miss Misery Creature Con. I think it was called the Miss Misery Horror Con or Sci-Fi Con, or I can't remember the exact name of it, but that was in 2012. We met up with him again, had him sign more Friday the 13th stuff, and again was kind to both of us, and just a pleasure to be around. If I had a chance to meet him a third time, I definitely would. He's just one of my favorite people to have ever met, and just a true gentleman, and he'll always be my favorite Jason. The number 1 for me is an experience that I had just recently, and this was at the Salem's Lot 40th anniversary event last October in Ferndale, California, where a lot of the exteriors for the film were shot. I had the opportunity to go there, and I met Ron Scribner, who played Ralphie Glick in the film, and one of the most awesome guys I've ever met. Not only did he hang out with my wife and I, we saw him, in the town, and his girlfriend recognized me from the videos that I've done, and just being on the Salem's Lot message boards on Facebook, and we all hung out, him, his girlfriend, his daughter, my wife and I. And we met up again at the screening that night that they had at the old steeple. He was so fascinated by my Salem's Lot tattoo that I got, to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the film and my love of the film. And he pretended to bite my arm as Ralphie Glick. He signed a bunch of stuff that I have on my little wall over here. I mean, it's just, what an amazing guy, and what a fantastic experience. Just meant so much to me. I've loved Salem's Lot since I was 7 years old. Saw it for the first time when I was 5. It scared the shit out of me, and he is one of the main reasons why that movie terrified me as a kid. Couldn't have been a nicer guy, and we're friends on Facebook, and we talk every once in a while. But yeah, it means so much to me, because that movie to me is like an old friend, and the fact that I got to meet somebody that had a major part of me becoming a horror fan, because Salem's Lot is the first horror movie that really I remember seeing and scaring me, and then becoming everything to me. It's still the greatest horror film in my opinion, and having the fact that one of the people that contributed to that movie becoming so important to me, just an awesome experience in every possible way. So that is going to be it, Philippines. Like I said, trying to come up with some creative ideas now that I'm housebound. I'm probably going to be doing a lot more content on my downtime, because I can't do anything else. But I will be writing as well, still working on my books, and doing some video content here for the Zone. I am going to do the tour of the Horror Zone, since now we can't really leave the house unless we're just going for food or gas or something like that. But so expect the Horror Zone tour at the end of this month. It'll probably be my way to cap off the month in the beginning of April. But really looking forward to doing that, and I have much more content coming up, including my review of Bones for my underrated horror film segment. This is a video that I did shoot, and I'm actually reshooting. Didn't really like that first version of the video, so I will be reshooting it. But I have some other really cool stuff I want to do here on the channel. Got a couple of cool things coming from Fright Rags and Cavity Colors in the next couple of weeks that I ordered. So yeah, got some stuff planned for the zone. I hope everyone will check it out. I hope everyone's doing well. Remember, keep safe. This thing that we're all going through right now across the world, I know we're all going to get through it. I think it's something that's going to help us all become stronger people and maybe treat each other a little bit better. One thing I've noticed is that people are a lot more kind right now because of it, but I know that we're all going to persevere through this and things will be good and the rest of this year will be great. So thanks so much again for watching. Thanks so much for supporting BoogyMan Ben's Horror Zone, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take it easy, stay scared, and stay safe. Peace. Thank everyone for taking this time to drop by the Horror Zone. It really means a lot to me that people are supporting what I do here. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button down below. I upload videos at least once or twice a week. It would really mean a lot if people would spread the word about this channel. This is a passion of mine. I love the horror genre, and I'm really happy to share my love of it with all of you. So thanks so much again for checking it out, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take it easy. Peace.